Standing still, her heart in her throat, she listened breathlessly to the words that were about to change her life forever. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the future wonderful stories we have in store for you. Enjoy. It wasn't just any Saturday, it was her wedding day, a morning in May. Livia woke up with a sense of anguish. That day, Livia should have been over the moon with happiness, yet inside, she felt a deep uneasiness. Her future husband, Aeneas, was the scion of one of the richest families in the city. But for her, Aeneas was not just the heir to a fortune. He was her great love, the boy she had fallen in love with regardless of his wealth. With tears in her eyes, she looked at her wedding dress. In a few hours, she would wear it to join Aeneas forever. But in his heart, he couldn't find all the happiness he hoped for. He felt a weight, an anguish that he couldn't explain. The images of the previous evening continued to haunt her. Aeneas had invited Livia to go to the most luxurious restaurant in the city. The man, with his usual haughty attitude, would never have chosen a less prestigious place. During the journey stuck in traffic, Aeneas had shown a side of himself that Livia found disturbing. He had contemptuously commented on the cars around them, demonstrating a superficiality that Livia had always tried to ignore. "Let everyone live the life they prefer," Livia had said reproachfully. Aeneas had looked at her with condescension, unable to refrain from humiliating her with his arrogance. The traffic was getting worse, and Aeneas, hungry and irritated, had started cursing anyone who got in his way. When an ambulance blocked the passage, Aeneas refused to reverse, hindering the rescue of a grandmother who had had a heart attack. Livia, mortified, asked him several times to clear the way, but Aeneas would not listen to her. A doctor emerged from the ambulance, explaining that every minute was precious. "Why should I care about that old woman?" Aeneas replied angrily. Livia, shocked by her future husband's behavior, felt her heart breaking. Suddenly, a young woman, granddaughter of the grandmother in the ambulance, got out of her car and approached Aeneas. With surprising strength, she pulled him out of the car and pushed him so hard that he fell to the ground. The crowd applauded, and Livia, although humiliated, felt a strange sense of justice. During the scene, Livia's thoughts wandered between memories of happy moments and broken promises. He wondered how it was possible that love could turn into such a cruel trap. Aeneas's words echoed in her mind like an incessant echo. "I promise you that you will be the happiest woman in the world." Now those promises seemed only a distant shadow. The two returned home without even having dinner out. During the journey, Aeneas continued to threaten revenge against anyone who hindered him, in his opinion, but Livia knew that something fundamental had changed. When she got home, she realized she had forgotten her purse in the car. When she came back outside, she found Aeneas' car still there. She approached without the man noticing her arrival. Livia heard Aeneas talking on the phone. His words made her froze. "Yes, my friend, you have lost the bet. I told you that this grey mouse would marry me," said Aeneas. Livia felt like her world was falling apart. She grabbed her bag and headed back inside for what was supposed to be her last night with her parents. She went back into the house, sobbing until morning, and when dawn came, she made a decision. Dialing a familiar number, he said simply, "I agree." Livia picked up a small bag, and while her parents were still sleeping, left the house, leaving a note on the table. With only a couple of hours to go until the wedding, Aeneas's parents nearly fainted when the matchmakers informed them that the wedding would not take place. Meanwhile, Livia reflected on the words of Giacomo, her old friend, who had always supported her in difficult times. "Livia, you deserve someone who loves you for who you are, not for what you represent." These words echoed in her mind, giving strength to her decision to run away with Giacomo without knowing how things could turn out. Even though James was financially poor, he worked hard and was not afraid of difficulties. He suggested that she go far away and where the rich would not be found, as James said. To avoid scandal, Aeneas's parents planned a sham wedding, taking advantage of the fact that almost none of the guests knew Livia personally. Aeneas had no other choice. He would have to marry a certain Julia. When Aeneas saw the woman, he was shocked. If you liked the video, would you be kind enough to leave a precious like and subscribe to the channel? Thank you very much. Julia was the woman who a few days earlier had thrown him out of the car because he was obstructing the ambulance. After that episode, Julia decided to report Aeneas by tracking him down thanks to the license plate number of his car. The lawyer he turned to was a great friend of Aeneas' father and warned him that his son had been involved in this matter. Aeneas' father, determined to protect the family's reputation, had planned to reveal everything to his son only after his marriage to Livia. But given how things had gone, he had proposed to Julia to accept this marriage, offering her in exchange a sum of money sufficient for the surgery that her grandmother desperately needed. The ceremony went off without a hitch, but the wedding night was anything but ordinary. "Now let's start your education," Julia said with a mischievous smile. "It's thanks to you that my grandmother is in danger. Now pray to God that the operation goes well." She slapped him and dragged him into the house for a serious conversation. Aeneas did not know that Julia was a martial arts champion, but he soon understood it, as he also understood that his life was about to change radically. Over time, Livia and Giacomo finally found happiness together, far from everything that had separated them. While walking on the beach, Giacomo stopped, looked her in the eye, and said, "You see, true happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on how we choose to live our lives every day." Livia felt a warmth spread in her heart, realizing that she had finally found her place in the world. Meanwhile, Julia managed to transform Aeneas into a better man, and his parents were grateful to her. What do you think of Livia's love and courage? What would you have done in her place?